لله نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have been talking about the biography of the four great jurists, or the biography of the four great scholars in jurisprudence. Yesterday I said one of the objectives why I chose this topic was to try and remind myself and you the significance and the importance and the virtues we have in our Islamic history. And I explained that we get those virtues and good examples and role models first in the Qur'an, in all the messengers of Allah, specifically the 25 messengers which have been mentioned by name in the Qur'an. Then I said there are other personalities within the Qur'an which also entail or show us the various ways to take them as good examples. And then I said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَى اللَّهُ فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِرٌ. Those messengers of Allah in that verse, which was 18 of them, هَدَى اللَّهُ, Allah had actually guided them. فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِرٌ. Then you people as Muslims, you better follow the example. Then I said the second good example is the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Rasul Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Qur'an, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. That Allah says, surely you have from the history of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, uswatan hasana, a good example, a role model for those who actually hope to be rewarded by Allah, and those who fear and believe in the last day, and those who remember Allah so many times. And then I said the third item where we get the role model again and where we get good virtues is the seerah of the Khulafa al-Rashidun. The seerah of the Khulafa al-Rashidun, specifically the four of them, as I mentioned yesterday in a hadith, are really very good example, and the Rasul has not just instructed us to follow his sunnah, but also the sunnah of the Khulafa al-Rashidun by the hadith which I recited, عَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي وَسُنَّةِ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ الْمَهْدِيِّينَ عَضُّوا عَلَيْهَا بِالنَّوَاجِذِ. You better stick to the way of my life and the way of the Khulafa, the successors who are well guided, and these actually the four of them. In fact, connected to that, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions a hadith, خِلَافَةُ النُّبُوَّةِ 30 سَنَةً ثُمَّ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. خِلَافَةُ النُّبُوَّةِ, the Khilafah or the Khulafa who will stick to the way of prophethood, just like the Prophet Muhammad was doing, or other messengers of Allah, is 30 sana, it is 30 years. And this is the miracle of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you count the number of years which actually al-Khilafat al-Khulafa al-Rashidun, it is equally 30. Abu Bakr had about 2.5 years, Umar had about 10.5 years, Uthman had 12 years, Ali had about 6 years, and we can include in this hadith Hassan with just about 6 months, and those are 30 years. So those are good examples for us to follow. And then I also mentioned the other Sahaba who were al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah. They are 10 in one hadith, but there are others who will be actually given guidance that they will enter paradise, and I mentioned their name yesterday. Among the various stories or biographies of the people we can get a good example is the wives of the Prophet ﷺ and the remaining Sahaba, which we have not mentioned other than those 10 al-Mubashirin. But today we are coming to a different group, and this is group which is reported by the hadith which I recited yesterday, but I had no time to elaborate. Imran ibn Husayn mentioned this hadith and said, and Imran ibn Husayn خَيْرُكُمْ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. He said that Rasulullah said, the best century, I will explain the word qarn, this is just us translated the century, is qarni, my century, ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم, and the other century which comes later, and the other one, Imran ibn Hasan says, قال عمران فما أدري قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مرتين أو ثلاثة بعد قرني. I don't remember whether Rasulullah after saying خيركم قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم, did he say 2 times or he said 3 times? 3 times. And I want to explain that hadith in details a bit. Qarn is an Arabic word which could be translated in 2 ways. One of them could be generation. Now when we talk about generation, it is very difficult to be specific, and ulama have not come up to the specific generation, because generations are your equals, the people who are your age mates. Age mates differ. We cannot say generation is 40 years, 50 years, 70 years. By our standard now, generation of developing countries, or the lifespan is fairly low compared to the lifespan of the people who are developed. They live usually an average of maybe 80, and maybe in African countries, some of them 40, 50, something like that. So generation is a bit difficult to translate. But quite a number of people also have interpreted this word qarni here also in this hadith as 100 years. Now if we interpret it as 100 years, then it means up to about 300 years from the time the Prophet was there, if we say that he mentioned it 2 times. Usually the Sahaba are so particular, there's a big possibility he said 3 times, but because he's not very sure, he says that. If he said 3 times after his qarn, it means 400 years. Now another way to interpret the hadith. خيركم قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. This is the first goes to which we are sure. The best qurun, the best century is my century, that is the Sahaba. His generation is the Sahaba, and the Sahaba is everybody who has seen the Prophet ﷺ and accepted his religion even for a short while. ثم الذين يلونهم, then التابعين, the followers. And tabi'i is the one who saw the Sahaba and has already was a Muslim, even if it is a short time. وَالَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and the tabi'i, those who saw the followers and accepted Islam. These are called tabi'i, the followers of the followers. But if we go and continue, it will be much more. Now, let me elaborate what I wanted. And here, just need to take a bit more attention because it really helps us. Imam Abi Hanifa, who is the first Imam, was born in 80 Hijri and died at 150 Hijri. So he was born in the first century. That's what I wanted to say. And it is said that for certain he saw a few Sahaba, but at least he saw Anas, who died very late. So he's tabi'i. The other 3 Imams, Malik, Shafi'i, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, are tabi'i, because they didn't see the Sahabas. Now, which means that all the 4 Imams are in that period where Rasulullah had said it is khayru quruni qarni thumma alladhina yalunahum thumma alladhina yalunahum. If we take those 300 years, then all the 6 scholars of a hadith were included in that period. This is the Bukhari, Muslim, At-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, An-Nasai, it is Al-Bukhari, Muslim, An-Nasai, Abi Dawud, and Sunan Al-Tirmidhi. All of them have their books. Most of them call Sunan Al-Tirmidhi and Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. The rest are Sunan. Only An-Nasai died at 303. So he just went about by 3 years. If you follow the hadith, that is very good. But if we say it 3 times, all of them are included with other, in addition to other scholars. Now, what does that help us? It helps us because the Qur'an, its translation, the hadith, its collection, Imam Bukhari and others, all these things happened within the time when Rasulullah said, these are the best centuries. Which means that whatever we have got from these people are during the time which is the best time than any other time. That is what I wanted to emphasize before I continue. Now, the second objective. That was only one objective, and I only have two. So don't worry, it will not be full of just objectives. We'll go into the topic soon. The second objective is I want to show through our discussion, inshallah, in this month of Ramadan, that these four fuqaha, there was no enmity between them. There was love between them. Each one was talking about the other individual in a nice way. There was no enmity even within their family, because they were taken from the same base. The usul are the same, as we are going to discuss. All of them were taken initially from the primary sources, which are Al-Qur'an and Sunnah. And then they go to Imam and Qiyas, and after that they leave a bit here and there. We will not talk much because this is not that of fiqh, but just to get us understand and come to unity and come to appreciate and come to respect and have no enmity between one madhab and the other madhab. That was my second reason why I chose this topic. Because our differences in most cases sometimes are brought up by things which shouldn't make us really be different and enemies and have a lot of misunderstanding, but it is the lack of understanding of our history and our religion, and because the enemies of Islam are not just keeping quiet, they are working very hard to make sure that we're disunited, to make sure that we don't have role models and all that. Those enemies could be the Orientalists and Mustashriqeen, who are filled in all the universities in the world, especially the Western universities. Those people who specialize in Islamic history are not Muslims, are Orientalists. And sometimes some of our students go without any good background of Islam and study under the supervision of these. And if you ask me, because I have been in that to be supervisor, the supervisor has a very big say in the student, in the product of the student. Because if the supervisor does not sign your thesis, it means you are not going to go forward. And other issues we don't have to talk about. That's the Orientalists. Then you have the people who have little knowledge about Islam, whether they are Muslim or not, or who are biased already. And Orientalists, most of them are biased, with the exception of very few. And then you have some people who claim to be Muslim, whether they are or not, but they do more harm than good, because then the name is a Muslim name, and he talks about this and that. This is how our religion is being attacked. I've been talking last year about the Al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah, 10 of them, and rather I've been talking about Al-Khulafa al-Arba'a, Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun, the 4 of them, because again, this is where people try to attack us. Because if we don't actually value and gratify and make these people great and faithful and we talk good about them, the Sahaba, where have we got our Qur'an? These are the writers of the Qur'an. Where did we get the Sunnah? These are the writers of the Sunnah. And all those issues. And we make the Prophet ﷺ as if he has failed to do his mission because he was not able to bring up some people who are good enough. And there is no messenger of Allah who has succeeded than Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That one is not the topic of today, but it's just to say those words so that inshallah, because this lecture will not tell you much. All what I'm intending is to stimulate you, to provoke you, so that from here you go and search and see what I was saying, was it right or not? And I'm sure I am, inshallah. And then you will get more knowledge than what I'm saying, and you will be more knowledgeable than me, and then nobody will be able to talk ill about this religion. Now, as I said, that these people have no conflict between themselves. Imam Shafi'i, after all, was at one time a student of Imam Malik, as you all know. Imam Shafi'i, we'll talk about him inshallah when it comes, went to their tribe, certain tribe, just to learn Arabic for quite a time, and some people saw him to be so smart, so good, with very good memory, because they have fantastic memory. And then somebody insisted that he should go and learn further, and he went to Imam Malik. Before he went, he got the book of Imam Malik and Muwatta, and they memorized it, he said, within 9 days. Look at these people, how much, mashallah, their hifz, their memory, how good it was. He went and just studied with Imam Malik after a short while about Al-Muwatta, and then he said, who will read? Asking Imam Malik, who will read for me the Muwatta? Reading, thinking that with the paper. Imam Malik stayed, Imam Shafi said, I will, and he read it, hifz, memorized, all of it. He was a student of Imam Malik. So there really are really Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal at one time was a student of Imam Shafi. And we will talk about them inshallah later. Quite a number of these people have been mixing up either a student of that, or the same sheikh was teaching this, or the other sheikh was teaching it, so they have integrated so much. Imam Shafi says about Imam Malik, إِذَا ذُكِرَ الْعُلَمَاءُ فَمَالِكُ النَّجْمِ. When the ulama and the scholars are being mentioned, Malik is the star. That's what he says. Imam Shafi and these people are honest people. They wouldn't just say something from Mujamala, just for it, because they are not interested in anything. We will see their history. Imam Shafi said about Imam Ahmad, because Imam Shafi at one time stayed in Baghdad, and that is where he had Qawl al-Qadim, his version, the older version, and then went to Misr, and he has got the Qawl al-Qadim, the new version. So when he left Baghdad, he left Ahmad. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was actually from Baghdad, and he said, تركت بغداد وما خلفت فيها أعظم ولا أشد ورعا ولا أعلم ولا أفقه من أحمد بن حنبل. I have left Baghdad, and I have left there. I have never left somebody who is more great, who is more zahid, pious, who is more knowledgeable, who is more faqih, understanding the secrets of the fiqh, of the sharia, like Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, who is a student of Imam Shafi'i, of course this people have so many sheikhs, it's not just one sheikh. What did he say about Shafi'i? He said, كان أبو عبد الله كالشمس للدنيا. Imam Ahmad says, Imam Shafi'i was like a sun on the earth. We all see the sun, how much it is shining. وَالْعَافِيَةِ لِلنَّاسِ, like good health for the people. Can you stay without the shams, without the sun, without good health? So this is their situation. And again, why should there be differences from these people? There shouldn't be. Because I mentioned earlier, basically, how do you arrive to a sharia, to a law, to a fatwa? You take it from the same sources they all take, as I mentioned earlier, from the Qur'an mentioned. But if the Qur'an hasn't mentioned something straight away, then you go to the hadith, as I say. And what are they talking about? The hadith, this is what I want to emphasize. Imam al-Nawawi, when he was writing the Muqaddimah, the introduction of a book of Imam al-Ghazali, he mentioned the statements which Imam al-Shafi'i had said, and this is the statement. إِذَا وَجَدْتُمْ فِي كِتَابِ هَذَا, he said on the book he was writing, if you see in my book, this one, خِلَافَ سُنَّةَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ, anything which goes contrary to the Sunnah. What is Sunnah of the Rasul? It is the statement, the saying, it is the action, and it is the consent. Anything which goes contrary to Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَقُولُوا فَعْمَلُوا بِالْحَدِيثِ. You don't follow my statement. Work on the hadith. وَاتْرُكُوا قَوْلِي, and leave alone my statement. Or in another version, فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. I have said something, but you see a hadith of Rasul contrary to this, stick to the hadith of Rasul, that is my madhab. What does it mean? All these four scholars, by the time they were giving the fatwa, it's not as easy as the way we are now. We Google and get a hadith. Imam Bukhari had not yet compiled his hadith. Imam Muslim has not yet compiled his hadith. Imam al-Tirmidhi and all the others of the Sahih have not yet. So to them, the only way to get the hadith was what? Was to get narration. Now you are in Baghdad. Will you get all the hadith and the Sahaba of Rasulullah have spread all over the Muslim world and even the non-Muslim world, you wouldn't. So that is why they are saying that. Then Imam Malik, what does he say? Coming to that. كل يؤخذ منه ويرد إلا صاحبها. He says. He was in Medina and he said, كل يؤخذ منه. Each one of you all, each one of individual, each scholar, however grateful he is, however knowledgeable he is, يؤخذ ويرد. We can take his words or leave them. We put into the mizan, evaluated, إلا صاحب هذا القبر, and he was directed to the grave of the Prophet, except the owner or the occupier of this qabr. Because of course, whatever he says, it is sunnah, and you have to follow it. So, this is what they have taught me. The only problem which we will discuss later came about. This harmony was there, but then in the 4th century Hijri, then the students, usually the problem is not with the big people, it is the followers of the big people always. The big people, whoever they are, leaders, whatever, they have to use their brain well. But the followers are the ones who are fanatic at times. The followers came during that time because madhab started to be seen in the 2nd century and 3rd century Hijri, the madhab. Because as you remember, I said Abu Hanifa started 80 when he was born, so definitely his madhab started in the 2nd century and the 3rd century with the others, especially something like Ahmad and Hanbal who came back later. Now the followers then started, each one wants to make sure the statement of his Imam is the right, whatever may be. This is wrong. We will discuss what is our role and what is our stand. You follow the madhab, you talk about it. If you are not equally alim, not talibul ilm, you cannot say that I will follow the nas, you don't understand it. But if you follow the madhab of whoever, any of these four, and you have been told, you have been able, maybe you know something about religion, you are talibul ilm to some extent, and you have been shown that you was wrong because of this or that, remember the statement of Imam Shafi'i, which is the statement of other Imam in a different version, that if you see anything going contrary to what I have said, and that is a hadith of Rasul, that is my madhab. So this is where the problem is. But before these fanatic followers, there was no problem, and hopefully after that, I will talk about that. Things started getting a bit better, because there are, the problems were mainly from Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i, but there are some people, followers of Shafi'i, who had written very good books to try and show how good and how great Imam Abu Hanifa was, and that was settling up the problem. Inshallah, we will stop there and continue this and talk.